Okay, everybody. Title's Hardcore Media here. Let me make sure everything is going here. Hopefully. Before I did video, it was on the wrong fucking thing on David Grush here. On Crash Alien ET Extraterrestrial Recovery. Some I've known about since I was a kid. Have my own experiences with UFOs, paranormal, angels, demons, all this other stuff. And so I heard about this guy, and there are things I do believe him on, there are things I don't trust him on. Anyways, let's get to this.
We do, yeah.
How many?
Quite a number. Some are landed,
let's
some are
see
crashed.
We have spacecraft from another species.
We do, yeah.
Yes,
How
we
many?
have.
Quite a number. Some are landed, some are crashed.
Allegations of a secret government program that has hidden the truth.
Again, this is David Grush. This is from last year. I've already done reports on this stuff, but I thought I'd do another one on video here.
The technology from the world.
There's a sophisticated disinformation campaign targeting the U.S. populace, which is extremely unethical and immoral, and it's totally frightening.
From Roswell to the present day.
We're all going against the wind. The wind's 100.
And like I said before, we've had stuff over 100 years of extraterrestrial biological beings and entities. We've had that in Texas as well, that I've reported before 20 yees ago, where they had ETs buried there in Texas. I believe it was Texas, I believe. And law enforcement had to take out those bodies and put them somewhere else because people wanted to dig them out. People were threatened with their lives, etc., and barred from exhuming those ET bodies. And we do have ancient stuff. We have a lot of different bodies that have not been reported. They're older than 1947. Of course, they didn't make news or anything like that because people believed they were just demons or whatever, and they didn't want people talking about that because back then they were seen as demonic creatures.
Pointing out from the west.
There are non-prosaic cases, 100% unexplainable. I mean, this is like tangible technical craft they're seeing.
Is this decorated officer a liar,
Why should we believe you?
a fool,
Is it possible that you're deluding yourself?
or a hero?
I'm a patriot, and I believe the truth to power in this.
We're talking about the biggest secret in human history.
We are not alone. The UFO whistleblower speaks. Good evening. I'm Elizabeth Vargas, here to bring you a News Nation exclusive interview with a man we're calling the UFO whistleblower. David Grush is a career intelligence official who this week is making some bombshell claims of a U.S. government cover-up going back nearly a century, shedding light, he says, on that existential question. Are we alone? News Nation has confirmed David Grush's credentials and
The thing's actually been longer than that. We've had craft and technology, we've had pieces and stuff a lot longer than that. We had them archived, we've had them in different places. It wasn't until 47 that things really blew out. People had been killed to keep it a secret. So you talk about the Germans had these craft and were re-engineering stuff in World War II, including making an atom bomb and stuff. We had stuff, the Russians had some stuff, pieces of foreign extraterrestrial technology as well. So they just didn't understand it.
And resume. We have not seen or verified the alleged proof he says he's provided to investigators. But we want you to hear his story so you can decide for yourself. Mr. Grush sat down with investigative journalist Ross Coulthart, who is reporting for News Nation. Mr. Coulthart is an award-winning journalist and author who has reported for the Australian version of 60 Minutes, as well as other news programs in his home country. What you're about to see is part of their conversation, touching on Mr. Grush's work with the UAP task force, his background and his service to this country, and the alleged secret military program about which he says the world needs to know.
For decades, the UFO question has been consigned to the realm of speculation, conspiracy theory, and science fiction.
Can you say E.T.? E.T.
But in recent years, serious people have started taking...
And if anyone knows about Johnson that worked at Skunk Works, that was head of Skunk Works, Lockheed Skunk Works, which I've talked about before. All these classified programs at Lockheed Martin and Skunk Works, we have the ability to bring ET home now. We've had the technology go to other worlds and other galaxies. We just have corrupt people in the Pentagon, military, and intelligence community that are psychopaths, sociopaths, that want to use this technology for their own gain. Whether to sell and use this technology, make money off of it, or politicians and other people in power that know that this will destroy these stupid religions that we have today. That's the reason why this stuff is being kept secret. It's because of that.
Taking the subject seriously.
You'll see it come through the top of the screen. There it goes.
Prompted in part by the release of these videos, purporting to show encounters between American naval aviators and what the Pentagon has labelled unidentified aerial or anomalous phenomena. Congress has convened hearings to determine what these UAP are and what threat they might pose.
If UAP do indeed represent a potential threat to our security, then the capabilities, systems, processes, and sources we use to observe, record, study, or analyze these phenomena need to be classified at appropriate levels.
The Department of Defense has established a special team,
That's no reason
formerly
to keep
known
it
as the
secret.
UAP.
They don't want people to know that they are a threat, that they can nullify our nuclear weapons, our aircraft, and all these other weapons, that they can make them void, and aircraft, they can just stop them in the sky and they just go boom, down, and same with nuclear weapons, they could just turn them off and everything.
Task Force, recently renamed the All-Domain Anomaly Resolution Office, or ARROW, to investigate and identify what are now hundreds of reported sightings. So far, they have not confirmed any of them to constitute proof of alien life. Officially, the government continues to state, we are indeed alone. But now, for the first time, a former member of that official investigative team is speaking out, telling a stunning story that impacts every person on this planet. And now you're about to meet that man for the very first time in this exclusive television interview. Welcome. Have a seat. Maybe start off telling me your name and who you are.
My name is David Grush. I came from a blue-collar family in Pittsburgh. I didn't have the money for college. Always admired people in uniform. And I've always wanted to be a part of something bigger than myself. 18 years ago, I got an Air Force scholarship for physics. I originally commissioned on active duty in the Air Force. Served 14 years in the Air Force.
I look at this photograph, Dave, and I see a very proud officer.
I was getting promoted to captain when I was deployed.
And you still love your country, don't you?
Absolutely.
A career intelligence officer, Grush spent time on the ground in Afghanistan and other places he can't mention before rotating back to Washington.
I was an intel officer for the U.S. for 14 years. My last position, which I left in April of 2023, I co-led the UAP portfolio for the National Geospatial Intelligence Agency, and some of the highest officials within the Department of Defense and Intelligence community used to call on me to advise them on some of the hardest target sets that the country had.
You are one of the most trusted former intelligence officials in the US defense and intelligence establishment.
Yes, I was.
You were trusted with the most intimate secrets.
Yes.
And he says the most earth-shattering of those secrets were revealed after 2019, when he was invited to join the UAP task force. You had the security classifications to go anywhere and ask anyone anything.
I had, based on my formal security clearance and multiple polygraphs, I had the ability to be read into any program that I needed. At one point in time, I was extremely highly cleared.
What conclusion did you come to at the end of your time on the UAP task force?
The UAP task force was refused access to a broad crash retrieval program.
When you say crash retrieval, what do you mean?
These are retrieving non-human origin technical vehicles, call it spacecraft if you will, non-human, exotic origin vehicles that have either landed or crashed.
We have spacecraft from another species.
We do, yeah.
How many?
Quite a number.
You're kidding.
No. I thought it was totally nuts, and I thought at first I was being deceived. It was a ruse. People started confiding in me. They approached me. I have plenty of current and former senior intelligence officers that came to me, many of which I knew almost my whole career, that confided in me they were a part of a program. They named the program. I've never heard of it. And they told me, based on their oral testimony, and they provided me documents and other proof, that there was, in fact, a program that the UAP task force was not read into.
You are alleging that the US government has been concealing the existence on this planet of alien life.
I would couch it as non-human intelligence, NHI, like we would like to say in our language.
Why do you say that? Why do you say NHI?
I don't want to necessarily denote origin. I don't think we have all the data to say, oh, they're coming from a certain location, and I couch it as somebody who studied physics, where maybe they're coming from a different physical dimension as described in quantum mechanics. We know there's extra dimensions due to high energy particle collisions, etc. And there's a theoretical framework to explain that. Yeah.
Just let me cut to the quick though.
From what I know, and I do know about this because I've seen it, is that they can bend warp time and space. Some come from different worlds. Some are also like, it's an in-between, different world, extra-dimensional. Because they warp time and space, gravity, and everything itself. How we see it and how we move, and they move faster, we move slow in time. So they can, everything's very different. And they can go through and alter things out of molecular structure, quantum physics, stuff like that, atoms. They can go through solid structures, they can go through windows, all this other stuff. Beings can go through solid matter. ETs can, with abductions, seen this. So there is a lot of questions. Are they otherworldly, other dimensions? Is like both.
You're saying there is an intelligent species engaging with this planet?
Yes, that's potentially extraterrestrial, yeah.
I speak for everybody sitting at home. That is a shock.
It's a shock for you. It's a shock for you. People like me have known this forever. I can't believe how stupid people are to think that, oh God.
To me. And had a lot of sleepless nights.
Grush says he's never personally seen non-human intelligence, but he's spoken to enough people directly involved in what he calls the program that he's convinced it's real.
I started out as a non-believer. I came to the problem as a hardcore physics guy, intel officer, so I have a, excuse my language, high factor. I was very methodical, interviewing people who didn't know each other, making sure this wasn't some kind of cover-up of some other program.
He says he pressed to gain direct access to this program, and that's when his trouble started. Grush claims his investigation was stymied, his requests for access rebuffed.
They shut the door in my face. They denied me access to these programs.
Soon after, he says, he endured reprisals and retaliation from above. He then reported that information to the Intelligence Community Inspector General. That's why he's filed this whistleblower complaint. He says that experience is why he decided to go public here and in a recent article written by Leslie Kane in The Debrief. You're not being paid for this interview?
The thing is, other people have paid an ultimate price and been killed by wanting to get classified stuff out before you were able to get to the Inspector General of Intelligence and stuff like that. It's only now that you're able to do this. And like I said before, you got, under federal law, you sign contract, but you do secret stuff, government. It's 25-year penalty of 25 years. Imprisonment in a federal prison if you divulge secret information or national security. So that is going to prevent a lot of people from outing stuff. This is one big reason why I never joined the military, is they like that. It's because if this ever come my way or something like that, I would have outed it. I would put out classified information. I've had classified information, and I don't believe in stupid government being able to keep secrets from the people like this. I have no respect for the government whatsoever. So,
You?
No, I'm not.
Why are you doing this?
It's a sense of service, Call me a Boy Scout or whatever. It just when I saw the kind of wrongdoing I did, I don't want to be 60, 70 years old in the future and have that, coulda, shoulda, woulda kind of feeling where I could have made a difference. I do not want to live a life of regret.
You are saying to the human race, for the first time, an official intelligence representative at a high level from the US government is saying publicly,
he's
we
not
are
the
not
first.
alone.
We're definitely not alone. Absolutely, the data points
I've heard this
empirically
before
that we're not
from
alone.
others.
Yeah.
You've said that the United States has spacecraft, intact craft.
We do.
Do we have bodies? Do we have species?
We have lots of
Well,
bodies.
naturally, when you recover something that's either landed or crashed, sometimes you encounter dead pilots. And believe it or not, as fantastical as that sounds, it's true.
Have you seen spacecraft?
I've seen some interesting photos and I've read some very interesting reports.
But, he says, the specific documents and photos that would prove his claims are still classified, and he cannot disclose them here. Let's deal with the issue of your credibility.
Mm-hmm.
Why should we believe you? You're just somebody coming out of nowhere, making claims that we really, ultimately, can't prove.
Yeah. Well, we provided the proof internally to the Inspector General and the Hill staff, and we went into all the details. I mean, I have the credentials. I was an intelligence officer on the UAP task force.
But let's face it, allegations of aliens and their spacecraft...
And the stupidity, idiocy of mainstream news and how the government puts out misinformation, NASA. which should be destroyed because they don't want the truth out whatsoever. They lose all their money with the truth being out there. Is that he is far from being the first. There have been dozens upon dozens of other people that have worked in secret programs. And we have to try to do a video on that. That said, talked about extraterrestrial biological beings, entities, stuff like that, exotic. They like to use these phrases to throw people off and make it sound so much more fancy than it is. Make it sound look smart, pretty much. Build themselves up. But no, he's far from being the first. No, a lot of people were killed in trying to put out the truth from the 1947 crash onward. And then they say that they committed suicide or it was a car crash.
Are hard to accept, even coming from a respected insider. Even if you call them NHI and UAP, how could such NHI travel to Earth in the first place and go undetected by the general public? Grush says the craft may not be travelling through space as we understand it.
It is a well-established fact, at least mathematically and based on empirical observation and analysis, that there most likely are physical additional spatial dimensions. And you could imagine in 4 and 5D space where what we experience as linear time ends up being a physical dimension in higher dimensional space, where if you were living there, you could translate across what we perceive as a linear flow. So there is a possibility that, and this is a theory here, I'm not saying this is 100% the case, but it could be that this is not necessarily extraterrestrial and it's actually coming from a higher dimensional physical space that might be co-located, right here.
What can you tell me about these craft,
It's
these
like
technologies?
pocket
Why do you know it's
universes,
exotic?
different.
Based on the very specific properties that I was briefed on, isotopic ratios that would have to be engineered for it to be at those levels, but also just extremely strange, heavy atomic metal, high up in the periodic table arrangements that we don't understand, what the emergent properties are, but there's just a very strange mix of elements.
So you're absolutely sure that the materials that these craft are made of are clearly not of this earth?
Yeah, they're sophisticatedly engineered, certainly not by humans.
And while Grush says the US has gleaned some insight from these materials for military use, so much more could be done if academia and the private sector had access.
It's totally nuts that humanity as a whole, especially the U.S. citizenry as a whole, they're not even benefiting from broad research on this.
They don't want normal citizens benefiting from this. From this technology. Why? Because they lose all the money. It's corrupt. You're talking about the military intelligence industrial complex run by sociopaths that want to make money off this technology, keep it militarized, and they make money off of this secret technology and metals, the reverse engineered part. And you want to keep it away from the citizens. Some is toxic to humans, but we can reverse technology and stuff. And make it better, make alien, or ET, I should say, ET technology, extraterrestrial. Keep their technology, we could make it clean for our use. We'd have limitless energy. You're talking about all these different types of energy that go out of business. Airlines will go out of business. Steel companies, coal companies, OPEC, trillions and trillions, hundreds of trillions dollars lost. But we have free energy, limitless energy. So they don't want citizens to have that, or intergalactic travel or multi-dimensional travel. Because this isn't one dimension. I've had near-death experiences. I know this is simulation. I can see outside this dimension, and in this dimension I can see outside it sometimes. So,
propulsion, energy issues, novel material science that can improve people's quality of life. It's just totally nuts how it's been protected and inhibits progress.
If you're right, if you're telling us the truth, everyone, the entire American public, has been lied to for decades.
Yeah, there's a sophisticated disinformation campaign targeting the U.S. populace, which is extremely unethical and immoral.
Coming up, how long has this been going on?
A lot of the things I was briefed on were very shocking.
So let's start from the very beginning. You say it's a 90-year cover-up.
Just about, yeah.
90 years?
1933 was the first recovery in Europe, in Magenta, Italy. They recovered a partially intact vehicle.
It's long been known that the regime of dictator Benito Mussolini documented numerous UAP during this time. This internal memo from the Italian secret services includes crude drawings of the UAPs. It's true, it's real.
Yeah, that actually happened. The Italian government moved it to a secure air base in Italy for the rest of kind of the fascist regime until now.
The one thing is, the Catholic Church of Italy has been keeping UFOs, ETs, a secret. They've known about it a long, long time. Over 1,000 years probably. I'd say at least 800, because you have UFOs that have been in a lot of artwork over 800 years, I think. They're on 800 years, something like that. And they're in actual art. They're in pictures. UFOs are actually in those pictures.
1944, 1945, and the Pope Pius XII back-channeled that.
So the Vatican was involved?
Yeah, and told the Americans what the Italians had, and we ended up scooping it.
So let me be very clear about this. You're saying that the Catholic Church, the Vatican, they know about the existence of non-human intelligence on this planet?
Certainly.
Grush says shortly after the dawn of the atomic age,
You destroy these stupid religions that are causing wars and everything that have no business being around. It's on tribalism.
A major crash recovery took place. You've probably heard of it. What can you tell me about the Roswell craft?
Fortunately, those details were not approved for me to talk about right now.
This much we know. In 1947, an object crashed in the New Mexico desert near the town of Roswell. The Air Force recovered material described as metallic and rubbery, though the government changed its story as to what it was, calling it a flying disc at first, then a weather or spy balloon. It just read.
Keep in mind, they killed people to keep that a secret. The nurse that saw the creatures was killed. She died in a plane crash.
Ridiculous to me that the US Air Force had changed its story.
Yeah, and they added additional elements over time and tried to conflate additional programs to explain some of the events.
Why are these things crashing?
Yeah, some are landed, some are crashed, and I think that's an interesting discussion that's come up, as advanced as, we are, as humans, right? Planes crash, cars crash. Just because you're some advanced sentience that has advanced technology doesn't mean some small percentage of your, I'll use the Air Force term like sorties, meet an unfortunate operational conclusion, as we might want to say.
Most people would tell you the Roswell incident has been thoroughly debunked. In fact,
Bullshit.
the Air Force published this report in 1994 to put the issue to rest once and for all. Grush has read it.
That
Never trust the
analysis I did
government.
was a total hack job, and even anybody with analytical skills, if you read it, you can deduce that they're conflating multiple situations with crash test dummies and mogul balloons, and they're just saying that the townsfolk who personally witnessed it were totally imagining things. They concocted that whole report just to disinform.
So the reason for the secrecy exactly is what?
Feudalistic dominance, who can have both asymmetric technology for, it seems like, just fueling the war machine.
Grush says that through the 50s and 60s, encounters with the NHI continued, as did the cover-up. One incident in 1967, about which multiple Air Force veterans have gone public, involved UAPs tampering with the nuclear missiles at Malmstrom Air Base in Montana.
They saw a craft, appearing to be intelligently controlled, hovered over a nuclear weapons silo and shut down 10 nuclear ICBM missiles.
It certainly looks like they want to understand how far we've advanced in our nuclear fizzle kind of technologies at the very least. I mean, it looks like preparatory probing activity. It might be innocent kind of scientific gathering, could be ISR probing.
Meanwhile, Grush says the crash retrieval program continued. And while he won't...
It's like we are monkeys that just have sticks and stones compared to them.
...reveal where the downed craft are stored, he does say that the people working with the technology have been putting themselves at risk.
A lot of them, were injured looking at some of this stuff. You can imagine the nuclear, radiological, and biological risk to looking at an unknown. And a lot of them have literally suffered physically because of their service.
But as we know, anyone who's come forward claiming non-human intelligence is behind these incidents has been dismissed as delusional or deliberately deceitful.
If you're right, if you're telling us the truth,
which is a lie,
everyone, the entire American public, has been lied to for decades.
Yeah, there's a sophisticated disinformation campaign targeting the U.S. populace, which is extremely unethical and immoral.
Coming up,
It's 120 knots to the west.
new evidence and perhaps new attitudes in a new age of UAPs.
The American people need and deserve to know more.
Has the US government changed its tune? These are the videos that started it all. Footage captured by naval aviators on military-grade cameras.
And we've had stuff from Mexico, video from Mexico during the 80s and early 90s of huge extraterrestrial craft as big as the biggest buildings there are in Gulf Breeze, Florida, Pennsylvania, stuff in, let's see, Hawaii, Puerto Rico. There's always been reports of Catalina. And we have Luxembourg, we have Belgium, the lights over Belgium. We've had stuff in the UK, crop circles. Some were fake, a lot of them were fake, but there were some that were real as well. But they've been tested, they had electromagnetic energy connected to those that were non-human energy in those fields. And that's how you could tell what was real and what wasn't. But Luxembourg, Belgium, those lights, you had triangles going over military installations, over different areas, their military installations, public places, and they made themselves known. This is not the first. These are just the ones that got the most attention. So, which is really BS in a lot of ways. This is not the first in any way.
That defied all
We
prosaic.
have stuff a lot older than this, 50 plus years old, that is out there, and there's thousands more that hasn't been released.
Explanation. Dave Grush has investigated this one, shot in 2015 off the East Coast by fighter pilots from the USS Theodore Roosevelt.
There's an industry of debunkers out there on the web who say, oh, they've got this all wrong, it's a jet exhaust at a distance, and the aircraft's turning. Give me an answer on that.
I had some optical engineering experts look at that, and the Raytheon AT FLIR system based on the pixel saturation and apparent size. It's certainly something that's not a jet. It might be some kind of natural phenomenon that's quite strange, but it's not as simple as a jet.
He has even stronger opinions about this UAP, now known to history as the Tic Tac, shot in 2004 in the Pacific by aviators off the USS Nimitz.
And
it's what powers those vehicles that's around these vehicles, and how they can manipulate space, time, and gravity and everything.
Tic Tac?
Truly anomalous, absolutely technical vehicle, physical, and that's absolutely something that we didn't make.
Not of this world.
Most likely, yeah.
The videos were leaked in 2017, then officially released by the Pentagon in 2020. At the time, it seemed the Pentagon may have finally abandoned its obsession with secrecy and decided to do what other countries have been doing for decades: establish a properly funded, publicly accountable team to...
It's been mainly the U.S. that has told other countries to keep this a secret, out of fear of what it does to religion, fossil fuels, and other money-making big business, and how they want to make money off of this themselves.
To investigate reports of UAP. Dave Grush was part of that team.
This is a hunt mission for what might somebody be doing in our backyard that we don't know about.
The task force set about investigating these incidents, including more recent events like the odd encounters that took place during naval exercises in 2019 off the coast of San Diego. This video, shot on the USS Omaha and later leaked to documentarian Jeremy Corbell, has received particular attention.
It either zooms off so fast you can't see it, or it sinks into the ocean, but it seems to drop. What do you know about it?
It was truly anomalous.
But Grush says the promised new age of government transparency is a fallacy. For starters, he says the videos that have been released are just the tip of the iceberg.
There are many videos that are totally fair to release through a declassification process. And I find it very concerning from a transparency perspective that all that the department has declassified were those 3 famous videos. There are more concerning videos that left me with a lot of questions, yeah.
He says there are credible witnesses who could testify to Congress about spacecraft, big spacecraft.
A lot of them were very large, yeah. Like a football field kind
miles
of
long
size. And I remember interviewing these personnel. I'm like, either these people are lying to me, they're having a psychotic break, or this is some
they thought
crazy
I
but
was,
true stuff that's happening, and I have no good explanation that's prosaic at all for this, because this is not explainable by swamp gas, St. Elmo's fire, ball lightning, etc., etc. I mean, this is like tangible technical craft they're seeing up close and personal in some cases when I interview people.
And at the centre of it all, the crash retrieval program the government has never publicly acknowledged. A program, Grush says, that's included at least one private aerospace company that is storing alien craft.
Is that true?
that is how a lot of these relationships are. While I don't want to name the specific companies and government elements, but overall, the government has been the custodian of a lot of this, right? And they'll hand receipt it out to a cleared defense contractor to do some analysis, which...
Okay, most of the people that I know of that I got information from were from Lockheed Martin Skunk Works. Some were from the Army, Air Force, intelligence that worked on bases throughout the country. Got information from people that worked in derps, deep underground places and stuff. So, but mainly aerospace companies that had to do with aeronautics, where I got my information from, and like some stuff from my father and other people that worked there around my father, Lockheed Martin, to take flights to these bases.
I find highly unethical. You have basically a sole source arrangement, and you allow certain private corporate elements to look at this, develop a potential insight, and then sell it back to the government for profit. And I think that's totally unethical.
The problem you've got is there have been categorical denials from high-level officials in the US government, even presidents, that what you're saying is true.
Unfortunately, some elected officials were not.
It was a not need to know basis that they were told. And you learn that being president, you don't have that power. You don't need to know. And there are people higher than you that can also end your life if you try and say something as well.
Not brought in.
Only a few weeks ago, 19th of April, the head of the Pentagon's UAP investigations program, Dr. Sean Kirkpatrick, told Congress ARROW, that's the Pentagon's UFO investigation body, has found no credible evidence thus far of extraterrestrial activity, off-world technology, or objects that defy the known laws of physics.
While a large number of
Again, I gotta say it's more personal for me because of my background of seeing UFOs when I was a kid, and being called demonic demon and saying that this is from Satan and being attacked. It's very personal for me, where it isn't with other people, and I've always known the truth about this stuff. So that's why I use the language that I'm using.
Cases in our holdings remain technically unresolved. This is primarily due to a lack of data associated with those cases.
Was that a lie?
No.
Well, I know Dr. Sean Kirkpatrick. I've known him for about 8 years. And, I expressed some concerns to Dr. Kirkpatrick about a year ago and told him what I was starting to uncover. And he didn't follow up with me. And he has my phone number. He could have called me. I hope he ultimately does the right thing. He should be able to make the same
It's a piece of shit.
investigative discoveries I did. It's totally...
The thing is, people are suffering, have suffered a lot of their lives that, like me, that have known the truth, that we notice. Bullshit of our corrupt, trashy government that's kept this a secret. And we should have never kept silent. A lot of us kept silent, thought everyone was just idiots, honestly, for not knowing the truth, and we didn't say anything.
Crazy if he doesn't.
So the implication here is that the head of the very body that Congress has ordered to tell the American public the truth about UAPs is possibly misleading the American public. Do you think the American public is being lied to?
Well, they've been lied to over the years, and I'm hoping that the lies stop.
Yes,
Coming up, it gets even scarier. The UFO whistleblower says the NHIs aren't...
Let me tell you, the stuff that I know about UFOs, ETs, you won't be able to sleep at night. You'll have nightmares. The stuff that I've seen. You won't get sleep. It's not just UFOs, ETs. It's the other stuff in paranormal. You won't be able to sleep. You'll have nightmares.
All friendly.
Have human beings been hurt or killed by a non-human intelligence?
Yes.
And guess who they might be working with?
We're in a competition with their adversaries to understand this, and it's a multi-decade Cold War that has been under our nose for so long.
As News Nation's Brian Ensign hosts a live Raps Nation.
In the movies, the aliens are often portrayed as peaceful, even cuddly.
I gotta say this before anything, and they're good and bad ETs. They're sort of pure evil that breed us, that rape us. They use us for breeding purposes. They're ETs that put the worst murderers and rapists to shame. I probably shouldn't say that. But there are good ones. There are ones that want to enlighten us, and we have psychic abilities. They want us to be able to use their technology for good purposes. ETs are no different than humans are. Not any different. Anyone that tells you otherwise is lying out there, you know what. This is what I know.
I'll be right here.
It would be nice if that were true, but Mr. Grush says it's not.
The common interpretation from some commentators is that there is a non-human species and it's incredibly benevolently well disposed to the human race.
Yeah, and I think that is the logical fallacy there is because they're advanced, they're kind. We'll never really understand full intent in that because we're not them, whatever them is or are. But I think what appears to be malevolent activity has happened.
If there isn't just one race, species, that there are many out there. So
based on not only nuclear site probing activities, witness testimony, I think at least if we look at it through a humanistic lens, it does appear negative, at least to us.
I've been told that there have been attempts to bring down craft.
Yes.
That we've acted offensively against non-human craft.
There have been instances, and there are certain techniques.
Have human beings been hurt or killed by a non-human intelligence?
While I can't get into the specifics because that would reveal certain U.S. classified operations, I was briefed by a few individuals on the program that there were malevolent events like that.
Now I'm scared. People have just heard you say non-humans
it doesn't matter what he says,
may well have murdered human beings.
That seems to be the case at one point, yeah.
And there's more. Grush says the United States is not the only country that's encountered NHI and their technology. He says our geopolitical rivals have their own crash retrieval programs, which they are also secretly exploiting for military purposes.
We're in a competition with their adversaries to understand this. And it's a multi-decade Cold War that has been under our nose for so long. And, you know, there is no good way to level the playing field and hold other nation states accountable if they're doing unethical or illicit activity as it relates to this subject. And I think the obtuse secrecy is actually putting us in a very dangerous position where a country might make a breakthrough. Let's say it's an adversary of ours. And it is so destabilizing.
You say there's been a Cold War behind the scenes with Russia and China.
There has been a Cold War with our peer adversaries, yeah.
Why hasn't Russia or China come out and spoken publicly about this?
I think they're in a similar, pickle as us, where it's they understand maybe some of the socioeconomic destabilization factors in their own society.
But if this non-human intelligence is so advanced, and at least some of them are malevolent, why haven't they destroyed us already? Perhaps some fragile yet combustible...
We are also their experiment as well. We're like... It's like us watching ants. Us watching other animals. It's the same way. We're there to see what happens. We can control it. We can decimate them and do whatever we want, but we're also there as observers as well. And to learn what they're going to do with different actions and reactions. It's psychological as well.
Détente has been reached. Grush has written an internal document about his discoveries that refers to agreements that risk putting our future in jeopardy.
And it's quite clear that you're talking about agreements between America and non-human intelligences. Have we made agreements with non-human intelligences?
Yes.
That's the kind of information I really hope national leadership is able to get to the bottom of.
I need to pin you down on this. Are there agreements between non-human intelligences and the American government?
We have.
I think
yes, we do.
That's a question that I would like to know all the details of as well.
We do know of at least one agreement among humans that's worth noting. This 1971 agreement between the US and the USSR on measures to reduce the risk of nuclear war. Whether or not you believe Dave Grush, this document proves the two superpowers were aware that UAP existed, whatever they were.
UFOs.
If you look at Article 3 of that treaty, it talks about unidentified objects near nuclear facilities or interfering with communications. And that is a treaty that has been used, from what I understand, to notify each other if there's a concerning event.
And that's a way of saying to the Russians, hey, don't shoot at us. It's not us.
Yeah, I mean, that's certainly a concern because of the secrecy. There is an environment where you could have almost like a false flag, where true non-prosaic UAP situation could be contrived as a provocation of something from a nation state, and we want to de-escalate that.
If this is true, if the stakes are so high, if the fate of the human race is at stake, perhaps it's no surprise to hear Grush say the US government will do anything to keep these secrets safe.
Can I put it to you that crimes must have been committed?
At the very least, I saw substantiative evidence that white-collar crime was committed.
Have people been killed to protect this secret?
Based on the people I talked to, that was an ongoing concern. Yeah, unfortunately, I've heard some really un-American things I don't want to repeat right now.
So you have a strong suspicion that people have been murdered to protect?
Yes, you idiot, yes!
Coming up, a reality check.
Is it possible that you're deluding yourself?
It's time to put our whistleblower's credibility to the test.
Everybody watching this right now is looking at your face. They're going, is this guy for real?
Doesn't matter how, to me it doesn't matter. I already know that this stuff is real, is true, so it really doesn't matter.
Let's talk about what Dave Grush doesn't have. He doesn't have smoking gun documents or photos. He doesn't have official confirmation of his claims. He's just a guy talking on camera, and a lot of his answers to our most pointed questions sound like this.
Can you comment?
Unfortunately, I cannot.
So, who is this guy really?
I don't want fame or fortune. I'm just here to provide public leadership on an issue that I uncovered, and I thought it was totally outrageous.
News Nation has confirmed through multiple sources that Dave Grush is who he says he is. An Air Force veteran from Pittsburgh who worked in military intelligence and was part of the UAP task force. Maybe he's just a confident, well-spoken, ex-military intelligence officer who just happens to have lost his mind.
Do you have any kind of mental illness?
No.
Have you ever had a psychosis, a delusion?
No.
Is there anything in your medical history that might be capable of being interpreted as a reason why you might be confabulating, making things up?
No, I'm not a disgruntled employee. I resigned on my own accord because I thought altruistically it's more appropriate to show thought leadership on the outside on this now. Because I hit an impasse within the government to try to right this wrong.
So I've got to be blunt about this. You're not making this up. This is not a lie.
No, absolutely not.
Because everybody watching this right now is looking at your face. They're going, is this guy for real?
I am for real. And I'm sitting here at great personal risk and obvious professional risk by talking to you today.
You've told us that we really are not alone. Even though you believe what you say is true, you haven't been fed disinformation. It's a common thing in intelligence for governments to mislead.
Yeah, I was very sensitive to that fact. Was this some kind of ruse against me? Am I being used in any kind of way? And I took about 4 years being very methodical before I filed my whistleblower complaint to be absolutely certain of these basic facts.
So take me through the process of how you convinced yourself that this is real.
Well, based on the credential people that came to me, some of these subjects provided me sensitive foreign intelligence to read, sensitive program documents and photographs to evaluate, and then described in very specific detail how all this worked. And they were telling me the exact, extremely specific details that it all checked out. Yeah.
You know, the thing I have trouble with, it's the fact that my experience as a journalist is it's very hard for governments to keep secrets. Most things leak. Your government leaks like a sieve. Why hasn't this leaked?
Well, I've certainly been the recipient of a lot of U.S. government secrets, and I can tell you they've never seen the light of day. That's for sure. And I guess ostensibly this has leaked like a sieve for decades, but it was a very sophisticated disinformation campaign where they have allowed some of the truth to come out through some of their trade crafts, but they've disenfranchised people, they've stigmatized it, they made it like this total wacky thing to talk about. So anybody who may come forward with that kind of information is looked like a total tinfoil hat guy, because it's a perfect amalgamation of disinformation to just make it look crazy.
The best reason to believe Dave Grush may be this document. Remember that whistleblower complaint he filed? It would seem it hasn't fallen on deaf ears.
So the Inspector General of the Intelligence Services of the United States has the information you've got.
Yes.
And more importantly, the Inspector General made a determination about the credibility of your complaint.
They found, after interviewing myself and the subjects and other subjects that I'm not even cognizant on who they were, they found my complaint urgent and credible for the intelligence committees.
The word credible is important.
Yes.
You appreciate. So an official investigatory body of the United States government has determined that your allegations are credible.
Correct.
Coming up, if it is true, then what? What are we going to do if the biggest secret on the planet is now out in the open? And what are they going to do?
How will the non-human intelligence react?
Let's be honest. A lot of extraterrestrials do not want humans to know. They want to go throughout daily life in our airspace, doing whatever they want, unimpeded, without humans, knowing that they're around, which is why they go a lot of times 45,000+ miles per hour. Some go slower, some of them do their abductions, some of them get water, they go through our natural resources, they take it for themselves, and they don't want humans getting in the way. They don't need them trying to go to these different hot spots, getting in their way. They'd rather the U.S. government keep that a secret. Some others, other non-human intelligence, want humans to know and be enlightened, have psychic abilities, telepathy, and other abilities, and use it for enlightenment. So you got both sides, and you got, how people should have limitless energy and do without fossil fuels, etc., etc., etc. I believe this would be one thing that would work against Trump putting a secret out there about ETs. Is that would bankrupt so much of the industry that he wants alive for economic reasons for people to make money. This would put millions of people throughout the world out of work. So, anyways, I'm going to leave it here. Tell me what you think. Leave a like, just leave a comment. Take care, everybody. Peace out.